Well, hi everyone. I'm John Rethlin, back with another double review. Two more Netflix original movies that I just saw. The centralized theme is girls that are seen as different, even though that is what makes them unique and what makes them special, and actually just shows that they are really as good as anyone else. One of these movies handled that theme a whole lot better with a whole lot more smarts, and that was the half of it. But I'm going to start with Tall Girl, and like any multi-movie review that I do, yes, I'm going to be spoiling all this stuff. So let's just start with Tall Girl. Now, this movie wasn't bad, but you could also tell it was from a first time director. They had directed a TV movie, but this was a bigger production. Netflix tends to put a little more stock into a lot of their originals, though there have been some that have been hits and have definitely been misses. I've reviewed quite a few misses this year, but some surprises. And I went in with an open mind to this one. You have a girl named Jody, a 6'1", half-inch girl at 16 years old who is made fun of. How's the weather up there? She's bullied a lot by a lot of people who she has a friend, and actually a pretty good friend, one friend that wants her to see what is how special she is. And she also has a best friend that really likes her and has always made this clear, but she's like, well, I can't date a guy shorter than me, and we've known each other for years and this kind of stuff. And gee, I wonder what's going to happen at the end of this movie. I'm not I'm gonna sound a lot harsher on this movie than I actually am, and it's not that it's bad. It actually has some decent writing to it, and there's a good genuine feel between the actors and everything. It's like people are trying to make this basic story actually work about a girl that is perceived as different. Yes, she's taller than other girls, and yes, they bully her, but she actually is smart, and she is kind, and she is somebody that just wants to be cared for. She falls for this Swedish exchange student named Stig. um I'm not gonna lie, that's one. If he really is Swedish, then they made his accent really goddamn bad. This was not. That was not a great accent. Don't try to make people do accents if they can't do accents very well. Just something about it just really seemed off. And I've talked to some Swedish people, and they just didn't talk like that. So maybe it was just somebody's interpretation of what a Swedish exchange student would have been. There's typical stuff about her being bullied and then her talking to her friend wanting her to stand up for herself. She has an older sister that helps her through some stuff. She falls for this guy. They fall in and out with each other. They kiss, even though he's dating a popular girl. And he confesses to the best friend that he calls Dunkers. And that's kind of a nickname that he has for him, that he's a nerdy guy back home in Sweden. And now he's seen as popular because he's in a whole new environment. It kind of goes to his head. So Jody does end up finally standing up for herself, basically, after kind of being screwed over and even getting with, some of the popular crowd, realizing it's not for her and that she can be who she is, and does a speech at a homecoming dance and basically realizes, hey, after seeing this video at this party where her best friend stood up for her when Steve kept kind of, making fun of her, oh, it's just a way to fit in with the crowd. Even though they had kissed and they seemed like they liked each other, he stood up for that for a date. And then she just got upset and realized, hey, you know what? I really don't need somebody. I'm a tall, independent woman that don't need no man, which is what they probably would have written into this had to spend any more cliche. It is a very cliche movie. It has a bit of genuine feel to it. Like, yes, standing up for yourself, believing who you are, accepting who you are. Those are things that we all should try to do. And it's easy to say, but it's hard to do because society and how all that shit is. But the problem with this movie is everybody feels more like a caricature outside, and a caricature and a cliche outside of, like, the few centralized characters. And you all know where this is going to end up. It ends up with Jody and her best friend hooking up, which, fine, nothing wrong. Nerdy guy gets the girl, and nerdy guy gets a nerdy girl. And there's even a subplot where this girl likes him, where this other girl likes him, but she knows that he has feelings for Jody. So it's not bad. It's not great. C. I'm gonna give it a C. It's a very average movie, but it's not bad. The performances are fine. Ava Mitchell, who plays Jody, actually is fine, and actually I think has a good future as a leading woman. But now let's move on to something I really like, and that's the half of it. That's my attempt at applause. Single person applause is really hard to do. Alice Wu wrote and directed this, and she's only directed one other movie all the way back in 2004. Saving Grace, I believe, is what it was called. And this has kind of almost chapter breaks. You have quotes from various people about what love is and stuff like that. And you have the character named Ellie Chu, Leah Lewis, who lives with her dad, and they live in the fictitious town of Squamish, I think is how it's pronounced. It was filmed in British Columbia, but it's supposed to be set in Washington State, and I know that because I live in Washington State. For those of you who don't know, and also they mention cities like Wenatchee. The greatness, goes through Wenatchee or something like that, said by people that have never been to Wenatchee. Now I've been there. It's not a bad city, but it's not a great city. They mentioned Tukwila and Spokane and stuff like that. Tukwila, by the way, I live in Tulalip. Tukwila is like, a place with a great mall, and that's about it. And it's about 70 miles away or 50 miles away. And then Wenatchee is like a mountain town that has two parts, west and east. You don't really want to go to the east part. The whole point is this movie, it hit kind of home to me because geographically and stuff like that. But also, here's why it hit home to me. It was really fucking well written. This movie was very, very well written with some real performances. You have Ellie helping a guy named Paul because she is, she's very, very smart and trying to get some income going because she wants to go to college, but she also wants to help out her dad. And her dad speaks Mandarin, speaks some English, but she's kind of the translator and helping him out, where he's kind of like low in the dumps because the mother died and they came to America basically to start a new life. And he wanted to help his daughter, basically, is what, something ended up coming along. Basically, he studied engineering. He wanted to give his daughter a good life and wanted to go where there was work. Ellie is kind of picked on because she's this introvert, this nerd. People say, some people to pick on her called a shout from a truck, chugga chugga choo choo, because racism, am I right? But she's writing papers for people, forging papers for people to help them get through school, and they pay her like, 10, 20 bucks, stuff like that. She gets quite a bit of money from this. And she helps people out. Well, there's this guy named Paul, this guy that really likes this one girl, Aster, and says, hey, I really like this girl. Would you be willing to help me write a letter? Because he showed Ellie the letter that he had wrote, and it wasn't all that good. And she starts quoting some good, philosophical books and some other good books and history books and stuff like that, and some really good pieces of literature as a way to, make him seem, not that he's dumb, but to make him seem more cultured than he actually is, and to teach him about some stuff and stuff like that. So you got Ellie liking to help people because she gets paid, but she doesn't really understand love necessarily until she writes it about Aster because she's actually in love with Aster, and that's very early on in the movies. There's also a very religious undertone about this, which normally I hate because a lot of times a movie can really beat you over the head with that, and I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of religious movies. I would not consider this a religious movie. And if it is, it certainly did not feel like one to me. It's about family, friends, accepting who you are, and that's really what it comes down to. It has a lot of really genuine feel to it. Ellie being the introvert, she helps Paul. Paul and Aster, hook up. There's some, good montages, musical montages, not like musical where they're actually singing out loud. Though Ellie does do a nice performance at a recital. There was a date between Paul and Aster via text. They eventually do kiss, which took a while. But, before this all happens, he finds letters that she has wrote for him for to send to food services because he has been working in the family sausage making business. No, that's not a euphemism. He's actually been doing that. And he also befriends Ellie's dad and helps him out with some stuff. And the dad can see that Ellie, and he thinks that Ellie and Paul have been together, but no, he doesn't exactly see Ellie, doesn't see that she's gay. And it's not that he's unaccepting of it. He just doesn't see that. And that's also an underlying theme too about how people are, people need to accept who they are while being members of a church. And even at one point, Paul had kissed Aster, and then one time I tried to kiss Ellie soon after, and then Aster had seen it. Oh no, what's going to happen here? And this is about 25 minutes left in the movie, and he says, "Oh wait, no, it turns out you're gay. It's a sin. You're going to hell." Like, even though there's like this, she doesn't necessarily believe in God. Ellie doesn't, and also there was this earlier scene where she shared like this kind of hot springs, moment, like day with almost a nature spa day with Aster, and talked to her about a lot of stuff. And then it turned out that after this kiss, and after he attempted to kiss Ellie later, and Aster saw that, oh no, what's going on? There's a proposal in the church between Aster and her boyfriend Trig, not short for trigonometry because he ain't exactly a freaking brainiac, not the villain Brainiac, but I digress. We think his speech is about love, like where Paul says, oh, what love it is, kind of stuff. And then Ellie shouts because she's playing piano at the church, talks about what love is and everything and stuff like that, and mentions some stuff. And it turns out that Aster figures out, wait, it was you that wrote all those? And then, a little bit later, it turns out that Ellie wants to go to college. Well, the dad wants her to go to college. He says, we came here to give you a better life, not just for my work. I wanted to give you a better life like, your mother knew that you deserved. And, your mother was a good person. She may have died because mother isn't in the movie. And I want to give you a better life. So she's going to go off to college. And there's also this another underlying theme of classic movies where there's this one particular scene where a guy is chasing after a woman while she's on a train, and that gets revisited at the end. But Ellie's talking to Aster, all this stuff and everything, and says, well, Aster's like, if things were different, if I was different. She's like, oh, no, you can't be different, this kind of stuff. There's actually, Aster knows that she likes her, and Aster does like her, but it's her not wanting to be who she is quite yet. So Ellie's going to go to college, and she says, okay, well, maybe maybe I'll see you down the road. And then she kisses her and says, I'll see you in a couple of years, which is good because that's how you should go. Whether things work out or not, she did what she did, and now she can live with no regrets. And then Paul hands her some stuff. They're right by the train station, which is where, her dad operates. And what ends up happening is Paul runs after her, chasing after her, waving and everything. And she's like, what are you doing? This kind of stuff. And it was really, really good ending. And there was also a lot of chapter breaks with quotes and stuff like that about what love is from Oscar Wilde, and even one from Ellie, a self-made quote and stuff like that. It was a really genuinely good movie. Really, really good. Perhaps even great. In fact, you know what? I'm giving it an A because I really goddamn enjoyed this. It reminded me of All the Bright Places, except without the downer ending of All the Bright Places, that is. And if you've seen All the Bright Places, you know what I'm talking about. Check out my review of that if you haven't. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.